Hi! Welcome back to Tips and Tricks. My name is Season Summers, and this video is the second in a series of 3 about arpeggios that are featured in this year's All-State Etudes. So we're going to focus on arpeggios in Etude number 5 today. This video is in the same format as last week's, so if you haven't watched that already, I would encourage you to go back and watch that one. I will put a link in the comments for you so you can find it easily. So we're going to start off with just looking at Etude number 5. I've taken the time to highlight the places where there are arpeggios that I've outlined for today's practice. So you can mark these. And just a quick reminder, especially for those of you who haven't watched last week's videos, we basically have 2 types of arpeggios. We have a triad, which is an arpeggio that features 3 pitches, and then we have the 7th arpeggio, which has 4 pitches, 1, 3, 5, and 7, if we think of the notes in the scale like going up like that. Okay, so now what we've got here is all of the arpeggios printed out for you full range on the oboe. And this is from the handout. So again, if you haven't scanned the QR code, you can absolutely do that and get the complete handout. So this is just a chunk of the handout. Over here, we've got a list of not only which arpeggios are in there, but also where they are featured. So with the combination of the previous slide I showed you and this, you should be able to not only learn the arpeggios on mentally understanding and performing on your oboe, but you can also then locate them in the music, because we need to make that connection, right? We need to practice the arpeggios, and then we need to know where they are in the music so that we can recognize them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to play through these together. So if you don't have your oboe ready, get your oboe. And I'm going to do a quarter note equals 80. So each note in the arpeggio will get 1 beat. I am also going to practice these today with you all slurred, but you can do any articulation that you wish. I just like to take the tonguing out of it, especially when we're slurring up to high notes. Because if I can get the high notes to respond without articulating them, then I know that I'm doing everything correctly, and they'll be even easier when I articulate. So if you have generally response issues in the upper register, this will be a good practice for you. And last but not least, some of these notes may not be possible for you. Maybe you haven't learned, for instance, the fingering for the high F sharp. You are more than welcome to leave those off. And when you're practicing any notes that you want to leave off, just don't play them and follow along with me as I'm playing, and then jump back in when you can. So you can leave any of these out that you want to, and eventually you can add them, back in to elevate your practicing. Okay, so the first one we're going to do today is our tonic arpeggio. Remember, tonic just means 1. So since we're in the key of G major, tonic would be a G major arpeggio. So we're going to spell that G, B, D. And I know in Texas, a lot of people play music with flats in the key signature most of the time. So you want to make sure that you're remembering B natural. That's really important because it's so common that I hear people accidentally play a B flat. Notice that this is very popular, right? The tonic is always going to be the most popular. We see that in all of those measures listed there. So let's go ahead and play the G major arpeggio together. And one thing I wanted to mention, slurring up to high D can be a pain, to say that lightly, on the oboe, right? Often the note will come out sounding as a lower pitch, and then we just quickly re-articulate it and it comes out. So since we're slurring, one thing you can do is if your bottom key here, your 6th key down, if it's an oboe that has a big open hole there, which most of your oboes probably do, then when you finger high D, if you want to put that key down without covering the hole, that will make the high D respond much better. That's just an option, totally not required. You can play it without that, but I find that makes it really significantly less scary if I put that finger down. Now, if you don't have the big hole on your key, if your key is solid and there's no hole, then you can't use this trick, unfortunately. So you can test that out here if you want to. the G major arpeggio, I'll count off a measure and then let's play together. 1, 2, 3. And my high D just came out nice and easy. And most of that's because I use that ring key. That's what we call the ring key, okay? Now the next most popular one is gonna always be our dominant arpeggio. Remember, dominant means 5. So in the key of G, G, A, B, C, D, that means it's gonna start on a D. So we have a D dominant 7th chord, also called a major minor 7th chord. If you're curious about that, that just means a major triad with a minor 7th on the top. At some point, I'll do a video about the music theory stuff with this, because I've had some questions about that. All right, so again, you see this is significant, right? Because it happens several times in the etude. So that's usually always the second most popular, is the dominant. So this is a 7th arpeggio that we're doing. So we have 4 notes, a D, F sharp, an A, and a C. And this is ripe with issues on the oboe. F sharp to A often has blips, and A to C, I'm sure you know, has lots of little blips in between there because of the coordination necessary. So if you have blips in there, you know, welcome to the oboe club. You can just spend some extra time on those intervals. It's definitely something that I think about when I'm practicing this arpeggio. And that will be really helpful for the etude if you iron that out. I also wanted to mention the trick that I taught you with high D. If you want to add the ring key on this, you can. You can also use that same trick on high F sharp. So if you're having trouble with high F sharp, you can do the same thing. So that ring key with the hole exposed could be down for this top 3 notes of this arpeggio if you want to do that. I'm going to do that. I like it. All right, so let's try the D dominant 7th arpeggio. Again, I'll count off a measure. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then it wants to resolve back to tonic, so you could always do another G arpeggio after that. All right, now the extraneous list here, I'm not going to go into identifying how these work necessarily, but let's go through these. So we have a B minor that's featured in measure 7. So we've got B, D, and F sharp. Let's give that one a try. You can use the same trick with the ring key on the top of this arpeggio because we, again, have D, F sharp, D. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. And then I want you to notice that the next one we have, the E minor, is like mysteriously popular. And the reason for that is the middle section of this etude is in the key of E minor. That is not a surprise, it's not strange. E minor is the relative minor to G major, meaning they share the same key signature. So when someone's writing in G major, if they go into minor, it's very often going to be E minor, because that's easy, right? Same key signature. So this middle section has a lot of E minor arpeggios, 17, 18, and 20, and 21. Okay, so E minor is spelled E, G, and B. All right, let's give that one a try. Here we go, E minor. 1, 2, 3. And I accidentally started to play an E major arpeggio. I'm very sorry, so I hope that didn't freak you out. My pinky just wanted to play a G sharp, so I apologize. E minor has G natural. I need to pay attention. Okay, then the next one is A minor. And again, we're going to have this A to C interval that is kind of complicated because we have to lift up one finger, put one finger down at exactly the same time. So if you're getting a blip in there, that is very normal. It's something we all work at. And that's why this is a great arpeggio to practice. So let's try A minor. 1, 2, 3. And last but not least, we have an F sharp half diminished 7th arpeggio. So this will be the weirdest sounding one that we've had yet. F sharp, A, C natural, E natural. Okay. Now, you make sure you think about the fingering you're going to use for high E, because we have to go to F sharp eventually. And if you want to, again, if you want to leave that out for today, that's fine. But I know that we use lots of different fingerings for high E depending on the situation. So you may want to have a think about what would work best for you. All right, let's try this one. 1, 2, 3. And again, to me, that wants to resolve to G major, so you could add on a G major arpeggio after that. So those are all the arpeggios. That won't take very much time to practice, right? Just by themselves, and then you're always welcome to go back, find the measure that has the corresponding arpeggio you practice, and then practice it in the context of the music. The tips are the same as last week's, so I'm not going to talk through those today. So I would again encourage you to watch the video on Etude 24 that I made last week about the arpeggios. And that concludes today's video. So we will be doing arpeggios for Etude 38 next Friday, so that we finish our trilogy of arpeggio videos. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in again, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.